Okay, hello everyone. Hello and welcome to Ask the King, episode 45. Today is Thursday, August something. August 21st. Good thing I have my laptop right here. I was never good at remembering what day it was I? I always forget that shit. And welcome to Ask the King. It's the very first Ask the King in over a month. I know it's been quite a long time since we've done an episode, and I apologize for that. There's a number of factors that have contributed to me not being able to do this. Not the most of which being that my website crashed last week. I was actually going to do Ask the King a week ago, and the website crashed, and that was it. Like, all the questions went away. No one had anywhere to post their questions. So I do want to say special thanks to any of you who submitted a question on the forums lickety-split once they went back up. We did get a significantly great body of questions to choose from this week. Thank you if you submitted your questions on Twitter. Unfortunately, I'm sorry if you tried to submit your question on Facebook, because once again, unfortunately, Facebook fails again. There is an app that you use on Facebook to mirror your Twitter posts, and it's supposed to, anything that I tweet is supposed to go on Facebook and vice versa. Well, unfortunately this month, the app decided not to fucking work, and it pisses me off because I went over there and it literally posted everything that I've tweeted in the past several weeks, and not this one tweet that says post up your questions for Ask the King. So I apologize to Facebook users yet again. Facebook fails, and you know, it is what it is. But we do have a significantly large amount of questions. In fact, I think there's roughly around 30 questions to answer overall. This absolutely is going to be a multiple-parter. And what I mean by that is I'll probably go for about 30 minutes at a time, and then we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back. I do need to rest my throat and everything and get stuff ready for the next part. We're going to start Ask the King a little bit differently this time around. And what I mean by that is there's some commonality in between what people have been asking me and some hot topics that have been discussed that need to be updated. And some of them are good news, some of them are bad news. This is things that people have been asking me overall, not specifically maybe in Ask the King today, but things that you've been asking. So let me get you the answers. I finally do have definitive answers for you guys, okay? All right, so the first thing that I want to give you guys an update on is a great positive update this time around, okay? And this is regarding a Nintendo 3DS capture setup, which I did purchase at this point about over 2 weeks ago. I think it was about 2.5 to 3 weeks ago. And I put it on order, and I didn't hear any update. And I didn't know what was going on with this thing, when I was going to get it. As you guys know, there's a few games coming up on the Nintendo 3DS that I'm incredibly interested in playing and doing playthroughs of, including Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright, which I think is going to be huge. 2 fan bases colliding in that game. And also Smash Brothers, which is coming out in, I believe it is October, early October, which is the earlier version before the Wii U version supposedly is coming out later this year. So I've been waiting. Where's the update? When am I getting this thing? Is it ever, you know, going to be showing up? And then finally, I got to my wit's end, and I said, I got to get an update. So I actually went to their website, and I entered into their help system, and there was like a docket to submit a help ticket. And I submitted a help ticket. I said, I'd like an update. I'd like to know what the heck's going on with this, because you guys didn't give me any update or even a time frame. I'd like to know when the heck this is coming. And the good news, I got not only a direct response, they said that it would be shipping this week. As of yesterday, I got an update from the shipping company that it is now leaving. The bad news here is that it's shipping from Tokyo. That's right, this company is based in Tokyo, Japan, that I bought this thing from. So, actually live here on Ask the King, I'm going to see if there's an update on the shipping, and I will tell you guys where this 3DS thing actually is. Hold on a second here. Here it is. And click on track. Here we go. Very exciting. Okay, here we go. As of... Alright, here it is. At 16:37, the shipment was picked up. It was processed out of Tokyo, Japan at 20:11. At 21:11, it departed from the facility from Tokyo. So it is en route from Tokyo, I would think probably to wherever their main distribution center is, and then it's going to be mailed overseas. And luckily I'm on the west coast of the United States now, so it should actually come sooner rather than later. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed everyone, seriously, fingers crossed, that in 1 week's time I'll have this thing. Because if I do, that means I can actually do a playthrough of Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright when it's new. It actually comes out a week from tomorrow on the Nintendo 3DS. So fingers crossed, let's see what happens. If I get it, great. Let's see. Let's see how long it takes. Okay, so there is your update on the 3DS. When I get it, I'll be messing with it. I'll be doing probably streams of testing it. Keep in mind the 3DS is 2 different screens, so I'm going to have to, as you can see here in the template, I'm going to have to try to make a template for that. If you guys are good at graphic design, anyone who's made me backgrounds before, if you maybe want to mess around with a template where maybe you have 2 squares like this one for Ask the King, but obviously they're the right aspect ratio for the 3DS screens, and you can like put them onto a background for the games that are coming up that I'm going to be checking out, definitely take a shot at it. And right there on thekingofhate.com, there's a section there for graphics if you want to toss them in there, and I'll see if I can use those when this thing shows up. Trust me, it's going to be a learning curve. I'm going to have to mess with it a bit to learn how to use it, but once I do, I think it's going to turn out really well. I'm feeling good about this because I actually know there was another YouTuber, Lord Vash, who uses this particular device to do his 3DS stuff, and his stuff looks and sounds great, so I'm hoping that my stuff will turn out equally good. We'll have to see. Okay. All right, now the next thing that was a common question that people have been asking me for weeks, and I finally have a definitive update for you on this one, is in regards to John Rambo. As you know, John Rambo and I, when I lived in Connecticut, pretty much almost every week, it was about 3 weeks out of the month, would do co-op gameplay on a Saturday. We'd do our podcast called Smart Guys, where we would do live wrestling commentary on everything that's been going on over the course of that particular week in the WWE, and sometimes in TNA, and even Ring of Honor and other stuff. And we had plans that we were going to start a new show once I moved to the state of Washington, where it would be like a coast-to-coast show where I talk about stuff on the West Coast, he talks about stuff on the East Coast, and we kind of, you know, communicate once a week doing that. And everyone's been saying, what's been going on with this? What is going on with Rambo? It's now been 2 months you've lived in Washington. You haven't done a Smart Guys. And I've been trying my best to keep you guys in the know and informed on what's going on. You know, John was very inundated with work and working on his show Schnozman and Hole Punch. And finally, the final episode of Schnozman and Hole Punch was released last week to much acclaim. It's one of the best internet-based things I think I've ever seen in my life. It's really well done, especially for keeping in mind that John did 99% of the work himself, the filming, the writing, the editing. Really, he did everything himself, the music, shit. And I didn't hear back from him after that. I texted him and congratulated him on the show, and I said, it's great. You know, what are you thinking for our stuff now? When can we get started up? So I hadn't heard from him. Finally, last night, I'll be honest with you guys, I was feeling kind of not frustrated, but almost worried that something had happened where he was pissed at me or something, that he wasn't responding to anything that I was sending him. And so I went ahead and I texted him again. I told you guys I'm the realest person on the internet. I got nothing to hide. I'm going to tell you exactly what we talked about via text. And basically I said, here you go. I said, hey John, I hope you're doing well. Haven't heard from you recently. I'd like to catch up with you, off camera. Don't worry about any filming. I just want to hear how you're doing. We haven't talked in a while and it feels weird to me. I knew you had schnozzhole going on, but when you didn't respond at all to my text last week, it felt like something may be wrong. Just let me know. No pressure. I want to know where we stand and that you're okay. And then John did respond this morning, and he said, hey, you're going to have to count me out for a while. I need to get my money together so that I can move to a better place. YouTube stuff isn't going to help me with that. I'm around most nights if you ever want to call. So I did respond to him, and I said, all right, in the next couple days, I'll try to squeeze in a time when I can call. I know there's a big time zone difference. But the bottom line is it sounds to me like John is just not interested in doing anything on YouTube right now. And I'm gonna talk a little bit right now because I'm going to be honest with everybody. I think that John does not get the credit that he deserves. I think that John Rambo in particular actually puts in an incredible amount of work ethic, effort, and time into his work that people don't understand. I think that John, unfortunately, didn't get as much, if anywhere near anything, out of the stuff that he put into YouTube like I did, alright? So I'm going to give you a quick bit of history. Back when I started on YouTube on a whim, I started doing gameplay or whatever, and I had this huge jump in popularity because no one was doing gameplay on YouTube like I was. Everyone was either doing professional level walkthroughs, or they weren't doing live commentary, or it was all nothing like raw, unedited, real gameplay like I was doing on YouTube. I was the only person doing it like that at the time. And it became hugely popular. And then in that particular year, we were heavily into Street Fighter. We were playing Street Fighter 4. years passing after that into, 2009, 2010, John and I started doing co-op of gameplay and stuff like that. And so John that year actually qualified to go to Super Battle Opera in Japan. And at Super Battle Opera, he documented everything. He went and he videotaped everything. And because he had a following of people who knew who he was from my content, he made his own YouTube channel, John Rambo Presents. He documented his whole trip to Japan. And it was huge, like popular as hell. People watched the hell out of the videos. They're like, wow, John, we love your footage. Would you consider doing gameplay of your own? Would you consider doing projects of your own? And so at that time, John did a few things. He started a series called Games the Series, where he was just playing random games at a gaming store where he knew the employees there. And also with his other friends, off-camera friends who people didn't know. We're doing co-commentary with him. And then after a while, he decided he didn't want to do that, that he'd prefer to just do gameplay with me, and he went in his own direction on his channel, and he started doing things such as The Show, which is his weekly podcast with OJ, where for about 2 hours, the two of them shoot the shit. They talk about different topics. They do comedy skits. They have guests. They play music. They do all kinds of stuff. It's a 2-hour variety show that I'm very much a huge fan of. And it's funny because when the show started, we're talking some 2 to 3 years ago now, it was just a podcast, meaning there was no video. It was like just audio. You could listen to it as an audio show, and they would put up pictures and stuff that would go through, but it wasn't anything you needed to see. You could literally just listen to the show and be doing other stuff, and you missed nothing. Over the years, John Rambo's The Show has progressed so exponentially, like from being just a podcast to having all kinds of interactive art and things going on, to then having guests on the show, to then having video, and it became a Skype call podcast where you could see video call and see people live on the show, to having all these video packages and things put into it. And then, of course, John, in 2012, when we were working on our own video series called Project 7, John was inspired creatively to do his own thing called Schnozman and Hole Punch, which is this show that he's been working on for 2 years and finally, reached completion this past week. And it was a lot of effort and work. And I'm going to say this, I am angry because John does not get the viewership he deserves. I love his content. I think that the show, in addition to that Schnozman and Hole Punch, and anything that he puts out on that channel is great. It's gold. It's like, I would not miss it. I watch everything that he puts out on there just like I would watch every episode of a popular television show or every episode of, or even following a funny comedian and what work they work on. His quality of stuff is that good. Now, keep in mind, he's an individual. He's independent. He doesn't have a studio backing him with millions of dollars so he can have crazy special effects and all that. He learned everything on the fly and he does it himself. And the thing that pisses me off is if you consistently look at John's content over the past several years, the stuff that he puts out on YouTube, it's gotten exponentially better, and his views have gotten exponentially worse. When he started with the show, which was just an audio podcast, that thing was getting tens of thousands of views. Now he struggles to even get a couple thousand views on his podcast. I don't know why. Nothing's changed. The quality has gone up, not down, yet somehow the interest has waned. And a lot of people say to me, Phil, your content, well, you can say 100 things about me, that I'm an asshole, I'm a hypocrite, people hate me, and there's a slander campaign against me, and yada, 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 yeah. My views have gone down, but not to the point where it's like I get 10% of what I used to. And John, unfortunately, that's what's happened to him. It's bullshit. What the hell happened over there? I have no idea. I've never seen anything where he attacked a fan or there was an argument or he did something wrong. It just seems for whatever reason people gravitated away from his YouTube channel. And over the years, he's put so much work into the stuff that he's done. I know for a fact that he put a good 6 fucking months of work into the final episode of Schnozman and Hole Punch. And right now, you go over there, and of course, was he expecting a ton of views? No. What I would say is it's a success in regards to the people that watched it, loved it. So if a couple thousand people watch it and love it, I guess, mission accomplished. But I know for a fact that's his heart, soul, money, and time that was invested in that thing. And he even knew so much so that it was, at this point, just for the artistic vision and not for the fact that he was going to get anything monetarily out of it. He didn't even monetize the final episode of Schnozman and Hole Punch. So he knew from the get-go that the series over 2 years had declined in viewership so much that it wasn't going to be getting anything significant. And he didn't even bother putting ads on it because he didn't want the artistic vision ruined by ads fucking popping up all over his work. So John is a hard worker. John is a dependable person. And I really feel that, I don't know from what the cause was, that all of a sudden his viewership, you know, declined like it did over the past couple of years. And I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. And I feel bad when I get a text like that, that basically he's saying he's giving up on YouTube. Except for, I know he's going to continue to do his podcast, the show, but basically that he doesn't want to do anything on YouTube. He has to focus on real life work to save up money and be able to move. That pisses me off. I hate that, because that means that's a creative vision that's been crushed. You know, here's someone who's a very creative person who I know if he had the means to do it, that he could make epic series for the internet, and he can't do it now. He has to go focus on 9-to-5 job because he needs to save up his money. And it's so disappointing, especially because I'm such a good friend of his, that is the situation. And all I can say is that, you know, from my standpoint and my perspective, work-wise, is it a disappointment that John's not going to be in my content anymore, or at least for the foreseeable future? Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, I'm an adult, and I realize that this is John's life and it's serious business, and that if that's his decision, I absolutely 1,000,000% respect it, and I say good luck to him, and I hope that, you know, he has massive success with whatever he's doing, so that he can actually, you know, start making some money, because YouTube didn't pan out, and that he can do stuff, you know, in his life to improve his life situation. I am the exception to the rule. I am the lucky one. I am the one out of the million who tried to make it big on YouTube. I take that back. I didn't try to make it big on YouTube. I just tried to get anything going on YouTube that could possibly work as a hobby. It blew up, and because it blew up at one time and I was the popular thing, I'm able to make a living doing it today. Even though I'm not the popular thing anymore, I still have enough that I can make a living. But I'm the exception, right? I'm the lucky one. And it sucks that someone like John, who has all that creativity, it didn't work out for him, and it's bullshit. And I hate a world where that's not fair. You know what I mean? It's not fair. It's not fucking fair. And I can understand there's a lot of people that are frustrated, that just like John, who you have creative talent and you can't make it big on YouTube. And I understand, because it's bullshit. It's not fair. It's kind of like perfect timing. You know what I mean? And it's perfect timing and luck of the draw. And I was the lucky one. And millions of people are not. And that's very frustrating to me, because, as you know, John was an integral part of my work. John is my friend. I loved having work and friendship involved, because it really was a great thing. But I knew when I was making this move to Washington that it had to be done. It was going to be a massive positive. So far, there has been a massive positive. And if anything, the one major negative right now is that, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do stuff with John. From time to time, I'm going to give him a call. I'm going to try to give him a call in the next couple of days. Hopefully, we can catch up, find out what the heck's going on with him. And, you know, if you want to keep in touch with John, definitely check out his YouTube channel, John Rambo Presents, where he's going to be uploading weekly. His podcast and all that stuff is going to be continuing on over there. And I hope, again, I wish him the best, and I hope that stuff works out for him. And I'm going to be keeping in touch with him privately offline. I know this is a huge change for everybody, because we were all expecting, you know, this wasn't something that John and I discussed before. It was a completely different story, and apparently there was this epiphany in the past 2 months where he just realized that he can't do YouTube stuff anymore. You know, that's life. It is what it is. So, you know, I just got to move ahead. And no hard feelings whatsoever to anybody. Seriously, how could I possibly have hard feelings for a guy who supported me, who was there for me, who we had a working friendship and a great business relationship for several years, and it was only that I chose to actively move? How could I be upset that he is moving on and doesn't want to be involved with that YouTube-related content anymore? I mean, I would be such an incredible egomaniac, selfish asshole. You know what I mean? And I'm not. You know, like I said, I love the guy. I wish him the best, and I hope that stuff works out for him. So there you go. You know what I mean? There you go. That's the definitive answer. And if anything changes, like he said, count me out for now. He didn't say count me out forever. There's a possibility that maybe in the future there'll be big stuff coming up. Maybe, you know, John's in a better situation in a year's time and he wants to do a big playthrough with me, or he wants to come back and do Smart Guys. Great. But I'm not going to push the issue. I'm not going to harass the poor guy and say, oh, you're going to be my content, you're going to be my content. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And when John, you know, makes a decision that maybe he wants to come back, he can. Now, unfortunately, what this means is what's going to happen to Smart Guys, right? Because this is what everyone... Phil, when's the next Smart Guys? I don't know now, because Smart Guys integrally... From day one, it was me and John, right? And we worked well off of each other. I had one perspective, he had another. A lot of times we had varying perspectives. We had different opinions on what was going on. And it was good the way that we played off of each other in that show. And would it even be worth it to continue that show when it's only one person? You know what I mean? Now, there is obviously a possibility to continue the show and maybe find people who are interested in pro wrestling who want to give their takes on what's been going on. We can maybe have special guests that we rotate through, but I don't want to do that without having input from people who have been fans of Smart Guys for years. I would be an asshole to, oh, I'm just going to change it, fuck it. I want to hear everyone's feedback. What do you think? Would it be better as a show that I continue by myself? Would it be better as a show where I have guests who maybe are rotating co-hosts on the show? Would it be better if maybe I tried to find a one person who could be a co-host permanently? Or is that it? Should I just retire the show completely and just continue on? As you guys know, for the past 2 months, on Saturdays, I'm just doing one gameplay streams. Should I just do that instead? So I would definitely like to hear your opinions on all that stuff. Whether it's on Twitter, @TheyCallMeDSP, whether it's in the comments of this video, please go ahead and submit me all that and let me know. I will mull it over. I'm not going to promise anyone Smart Guys is returning soon because I want to think about it for a while. And in particular, with this hardcore gaming season coming up, I may be so inundated with stuff anyway. Maybe this was the right time for this to happen. But I'd like to hear your opinion and feedback. Okay? Okay. Alright, so we have one more quick common question. Then we're actually going to get to some real questions that were submitted. Individual questions on the forums, all right? The final common question for this episode was, a lot of people have been saying, Phil, you know, you moved to Washington State, you live with your girlfriend now, and you haven't done anything with her in regards to work or gameplay. Really, yeah, she's been in some vlogs, right? But she hasn't been, like, you haven't done any co-op with her, and we thought maybe when you moved together that you were going to be doing co-op once a week, and especially now that John Rambo is not available, excuse me, for co-op gameplay like you used to do, what's going to happen? What's the future of co-op with Leanna? And so the answer is this. First of all, we've already talked about it, her and I. And she does want to do some co-op with me. The thing is, right now, we don't even know what we would do. There was one game a year ago that we played. It was actually Fatal Frame, I think Fatal Frame 3 that we were playing. We only played it for one session, maybe a couple of hours. It was a quick one-off thing. It wasn't anything serious. We did it as like a Halloween special. But keep in mind, a year ago, my girlfriend was just visiting me for a few days. We didn't want to sit there playing a game at length. It was just like maybe a couple hours during her visit, and we wanted to go off and do other stuff. Now we live together all the time. So if we wanted to do an actual serious playthrough of a game at length, we could. And, you know, we discussed it, and really what we're talking about is things that we want to do together. For example, Little Big Planet 3, we're both incredibly excited to do that. Like, Little Big Planet 3 is the kind of game that's right up our alley. We both are fans of the series, and I know some people say, oh, but you hate it. No, I don't hate it. I actually like the platforming aspect of it. I just think that the first game was so overhyped and overblown that people said, oh, Little Big Planet, because it's user-created content, will change the way that games are made and will change the gaming atmosphere forever. Did that happen? Absolutely not. It was completely overhyped by the gaming media, and that was the point I was making with Little Big Planet 1. I don't hate the series. In fact, I think it is quite a fun platforming series, okay? So, seeing at E3 that Little Big Planet 2 is going to have Little Big Planet 3, excuse me, is going to have 4 unique characters, co-op, available from the get-go. We talked about it, and yes, that's definitely a game that we want to play together, and we will be doing a co-op playthrough of that game when it is released later this year. If it is, because it doesn't even have a definitive release day yet, right? Kind of silly. Number 2, the next Mario Party game. We just discussed it. Yeah, we both love Mario Party games. That would be something great that we'd be able to play together, right? But really, when it comes down to it, when you look at the co-op games that are coming out in the near future, there's, like, not a heck of a lot that we'd be, like, Destiny, you know, she's not interested in that, right? Borderlands, again, it's the same kind of game. She's not interested in those kind of cooperative first-person shooters. It's more, there's genres of games that we're going to enjoy playing together, and the co-op games that are coming out soon are not that genre or that style of game, okay? So, there also was another game that came out, and we're going to talk about it because it's actually one of the questions, that the Platinum Reward for Club Nintendo this year was digital downloads only, no physical swag or anything like that. And I did get I think it's Game & Watch Wario, or no, Game & Wario is what it's called for the Wii U, which I'm assuming is mini games, motion control games that you can do multiplayer. And we were talking about possibly doing that at some point. We didn't really schedule it in for anything yet. And now that Saturdays seem to be changing, maybe this is the opportunity for her and I to sit down and discuss this and say, gee, maybe on Saturday, since there's not going to be smart guys in the near future and, you know, no Rambo around for a while, maybe that's a day when we start to do co-op together and we do a little session of co-op gameplay before we go out and spend the rest of the day together, which is what we do on Saturdays. We only do one gameplay stream. So maybe that'll be, you know, co-op Saturdays with Leanna, where we do one thing a week or something like that. I don't know. It's a possibility. I don't know if it's something that a lot of people are going to be interested in, all right? Do people want to see me play games with Leanna all the time? I don't know. Every once in a while, yeah, sure. You know, see me do Little Big Planet 3 and stuff like that, but do you want to see it every week is the question, because it's never something that we really consider. So then again, that's another thing I would like your input. Do you think you'd be interested in seeing myself and Leanna do co-op once a week, or is that something that we should save for special playthroughs and games that you feel that we're more accustomed to playing together? Let me know again in the comments of the video and on Twitter. Those are the two places that best you can reach me for this input. Okay. So now let's actually sneak in a real forum question here. All right. This one is from Kless. And Kless asks the following. He says, hey, Phil, since Smash Brothers for the 3DS is coming out, I was wondering who your mains were in previous Smash Brothers games, and who are you most hyped to play as in the next game? Also, would you be willing to give your 3DS friend code out so that we could have a few games with you? It would be pretty fun to have a fan appreciation going on in Smash Brothers. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to fess up here. I told you guys that previously, in the years when Smash Brothers first came out and stuff like that, I was not a fan of it at all. I didn't play it. It looked like a silly party game to me. I'm going to be honest with you. It's still kind of a silly party game, kind of similar to that PlayStation All-Stars game that came out a couple years ago and failed. It seems to be the Smash. Yes, can it be played at a competitive level? Absolutely. It can be. So can Tiddlywinks. So, you know what I mean? Like, anything that is a game can be played at a competitive level. To me, it doesn't seem like it's a game that's designed and based around super hyper-competitive play. That's me because I have a unique perspective growing up in the era of the 1990s where the competitive fighters like Street Fighter 2 were at their roots. So from my perspective, I don't see it like that. There are tons of people out there who do. So during those years when I was playing fighting games and going to arcades and playing in tournaments, I completely neglected and never played Smash Brothers. In fact, the first Smash Brothers game that I ever played was the last one, which was on Wii U. What was that, Brawl or something? I don't even remember what it was called. Not Wii U, I'm sorry, the Wii, the Nintendo Wii. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I loved it. I thought that, first of all, the game had a huge campaign in it that I thought was fun as hell. I really enjoyed playing through the campaign. Then I jumped online. I had a lot of fun playing the game online. And that's how I approached it. I don't care about it being competitive. I just care about it being fun. I actually really enjoyed the last Smash Brothers. Now, if you're going to ask me who my main is, I don't have a main. Because I didn't treat it like a competitive fighting game. I do remember playing with characters like Meta Knight, Kirby, and there was one or two others who were kind of like my go-to guys if I was going to do online play in it, but I didn't take it seriously enough where I said, oh, I had a main or whatever. You're asking me, who am I looking forward to playing with in the next game? Everyone, because I haven't played Smash since that one came out. I played it for like a week, I beat everything, and I stopped playing it. Keep in mind, that was before the days of YouTube. I didn't record any of that. I'm really much looking forward to checking out Smash Brothers, both on the 3DS, when I get my capture set up, and then, of course, a month or two later on the Wii U, to see what the differences are between the versions, to see what modes are available on one and not the other. I actually, at E3, saw that there were some unique modes on the 3DS that look really interesting to me. So I'm excited. I'm very excited to check out both iterations of Smash Brothers later this year. But, Kless, unfortunately, I can't really answer your questions the way you're looking for me to because I didn't take the game that seriously when I played the last one, and that was actually the only one I ever did. And we'll see what happens with this new one. Okay, fair enough? All right. I've actually been going on now for almost 30 minutes, so I'm going to answer one more question, then we're going to take a short break, and I'll split the video for YouTube. We'll come back, and I've only answered 3 questions off the first page, so we've got a long way to go, okay? Okay, so the next question, this is from Daniel's Wii, and he asks, hey, Phil, in case you haven't heard about it, there's a new series called Gotham that premieres on September on the Fox network. It's the origin story of Commissioner Gordon, Batman, and a few other characters. So here's my opinion, or here's my question, excuse me. Are you going to watch Gotham? And do you like TV series that are based on comics such as Arrow, The Flash, etc.? From my experience, television shows based on comics are hit and miss. And the reason I say that is because it seems like when they try to make these shows, rather than try to keep them canon with the comics or even canon with, say, existing franchises, they try to make their own kind of world. So, for example, you had Smallville, which was supposed to be the origin story of Superman, right? But then you had Arrow, which I guess was somehow related to Smallville, and they existed in the same universe, but those two had no relation whatsoever to the Man of Steel or the Superman Returns movies or the Batman movies. Those were all separate universes. It's kind of a weird thing how they try to create this whole multiverse of who exists where and who's real and who's not. It confuses me. What I can tell you is I've seen several comic book-based television shows over the years, and some of them come out really well, and some of them just come out flat. So, for example, right now The Walking Dead, a lot of people don't realize, is based off of a comic book series. It's an incredibly popular comic book that they adapted to be a TV show. And I like it a lot. I think The Walking Dead television show is one of the best shows on TV. It's close to the comics, but they do some certain changes that are a little bit different. I think because they figure it'll adapt more to There's some really dark shit that happens in the comics that if they had done in the TV show, I don't know how they would have even pulled it off special effects-wise. Let's put it that way. And then you look at shows like Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that just came out last year, where everyone was like, what is this going to be? A bunch of humans, not even like superpowered people, but they managed to actually tie that show into the main Marvel movies that were coming out at the time. In fact, at the time, there was Captain America the Winter Soldier literally released the same week that during the show, there were events that coincided and affected each other in the movie and the show. And I think they did a great job with it. Even though the show is completely superfluous and you don't ever need to watch it because it's all side content to the movies, the show actually tied in well to that universe. And I thought, wow, I didn't see that coming. And it actually blindsided me, and I actually enjoyed that show, even though it was kind of laughable at the start. Then you got stuff like a few years ago they had, I think it was The Cape, where you have this ensemble cast of people, but the show didn't hit like the peak. Like there was a comic, it was based on a comic, and it just didn't get there. It didn't get to the like any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Believability. Like, it was ridiculous. The guy has a cape. That's his fucking special ability. He swings a fucking cape around, and he can dodge bullets with it, and he can do all this crazy shit with it. You know, they didn't make it believable enough that it would catch on and become a popular show. All right? Now, let's talk about this new show, Gotham, because I've actually heard a few things about it. So this Gotham show is supposed to be the origin story of Commissioner Gordon before he was the commissioner. I think he's just a normal detective. Bruce Wayne, when his parents are first killed, and how the relationship between the police and Bruce Wayne, and how Bruce Wayne gets molded to want to become this vigilante. And apparently also the origin stories of certain villains like Catwoman, Penguin, and some other people. Well, guess what? There was a teaser of the show at San Diego Comic-Con, and everyone who saw the teaser basically walked out and said it's the worst fucking thing they've ever seen. That basically it's totally different from the comics. Just like I said, what they're trying to do, they create their own parallel universe story of all these characters, and it's different from the movies, it's different from the comics. There's characters in there you never fucking heard of. How is Catwoman older than Batman? That would never was. I mean, Catwoman is like gonna be older, and this, it just makes no sense. It's like they're rewriting the lore, right, in order to make a whole new universe again. And they do this all the time with these shows, to which I say, listen, here's the problem. The problem is, you could do that with Arrow, okay? You can do that with so-and-so or whatever. Batman, at this point, he's had how many movie franchises that were popular? He's had how many iterations? Everyone knows the story of Batman. You can't fuck with Batman. You know what I mean? Like, we've all seen all these great versions of Batman. Now, all of a sudden, there's going to be all this crazy, dramatic nonsense I'm sure they're going to throw in there. I don't think that that's the right route to go, but that's what they're doing. And quite honestly, isn't it funny that it wasn't only after the direct competitor ABC had a successful show with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that now we have to do a comic book show on mainstream TV. Let's get Gotham out there, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, am I going to watch it? I might watch a couple episodes, and if I like it, keep watching it, and if I think it's a joke, I may just drop it. Because you can't fuck with that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, Batman is pretty much the biggest DC Comics hero, even bigger than Superman. He has, in recent decades, he's become more popular than Superman. Everyone knows him. You can't just, oh, well, we're going to have Jada Pinkett on the show because we want a pretty face. Where is she? Who is she supposed to be? You know what I mean? Catwoman's old. Penguin is some skinny British dude. Like, sure. You do what you want. You go ahead and you ruin the classic lore. And good luck getting people to come back. And all I have to say about this is if you actually take a look at Spider-Man, okay? The Amazing Spider-Man movies. Everyone is basically saying that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a flop. That critics panned it. And people didn't turn out to the theaters the way that they had planned. It didn't make as much money. When you look at the fucking movie, oh, Electro's a blue dude who was a black scientist, and Spider-Man is this, and Norman Osborn is this. You're like, but that's not the core of the character. It's all crazy, weird shit from, like, the Ultimates universe and other stuff. Gee, I wonder why people aren't coming out in droves. It's because it's different from what they're used to. It's different from that core Spider-Man story. And so you're going to have problems. The same thing, if you're going to change everything, expect problems because people are going to go into it. It's called Gotham. It's supposed to be Batman. They're going to have preconceived notions of what to expect about the show. And if you don't hit those, if you don't reach those, you're going to fail and people are going to complain about the show and pan it. So we'll have to see what happens with this show. All right? We'll have to see where they go with it. All right. So that's it for part 1 of Ask the King, episode 45. I'm going to go on a short break. Come on back. We got a ridiculous amount of questions to still go through. So don't go anywhere. We shall return with more stuff for you. Thanks a lot. I'll be right back. See you in a few minutes.